think there's been a lot of takeaways. I will now open the session for you, for any questions that you have to both our speakers of the day. In case there's a question, you can type it down and we can work on it. I'd ask Rohit if he's out there. Right. Hi. Great. He's there with us. Yeah. Great. So I just want to know about the community challenges that you face in your project.
Hi, Charles, for the question. So generally, the mindset around the community here in Nepal is that not everyone is interested, or not everyone knows the concept of quality education. That's one. The challenge that comes before that is a lot of parents, a lot of communities, they don't even see the importance of sending their children to a school. In Nepal, it's so difficult to even sustain the families that, sending them to schools, paying for it, paying for meals, or, or even so-called wasting their time in a classroom would make less sense to these community, rather than, simply involving them in jobs or whatever amount of money they can earn, even if it's $1 a day, because that helps them sustain their families. So for the community challenge that arises with us is to convince communities, parents, families, to get them to get the message across that yes, education is really important, and it's so important to have your children sent in a classroom. One. The other that arises is parents, teachers, even students, they cannot really distinguish between what quality education is, what interactive learning is. Generally, it's seen as, teachers coming to a classroom, writing in whiteboards, blackboards, students copying it, memorizing it. They then vomit whatever answers they've memorized in a piece of paper, getting decent marks. That's it, move on, right? So it's more than that learning. So I think that change in the mentality of students is not just in the mentality of students, but in schools and with teachers. That shift is, I think, a big challenge that lies not just in Nepal, but in different parts of the world. Over to you, Charles.
Thank you. That was so wonderful. So I think Sal has asked a question. More connection between. Yeah.
Oh no, it.
Yeah. So Rohit, you need to take it again. Is there a way to provide more connection between schools and community in Nepal? Yeah.
Yes. There is actually a lot of ways. So I actually was consulting for a school that is in one of the remote places that lies in the east side of Nepal. So there, the modality is the government, and there's one more organization that I was consulting for. They were both working with the community people. One, with raising awareness, telling them the importance of, why education is important. So that's the parents, the community is an issue of, hey, we don't have enough money, or we just can't afford our students to spend a lot of time in schools because that's costing us our food on the table, whatever, all those things. So this organization came up with a solution where the community was investing about 20% in a creation of a school from scratch, the government with another X percentage, while the organization was adding the remaining percentage. So once that model happens, the community immediately takes ownership. And with the land that was bought, the community people were also using that extra space land for farming, and all those farming products would be sold. So they now have more incentive to keep and sustain the school. So I think that was one of the finest models that I had seen, worked with closely, and that gave a reason of the parents to send students to school, at the same time for the community to benefit, not just with more smarter children, but also economically sustainable surrounding and community. So that's a great way, I think.
Yeah. So Mohit, there's actually another question from you. Yeah, thanks. Sal is satisfied. Thank you. Mohit, there's another there are two questions from you from Maxim. So you can take that after some time. I just have a question for Sal, and then we'll get back to you. Is that okay? Yeah. So Sal, basically, I wanted to ask you is we have schools which are squeezed for space. There's not much space whatsoever, and then when we talk about the eco-friendly environment, and there's so many other things. So how do we bring all those values that you've been speaking to about in schools which are squeezed for space?
I think maybe it's a connection to the question I asked Mohit. I think there needs to be a mindset shift change around what a school is. We're still, even in this group, talking about schools being independent, something separate to a community. It's just a walled off place within a community. But the opportunity for a school and the need for a school and probably education systems to move into the future, the opportunity to connect with the real world and to bring part of the community in. I don't see a school as a place that's geographically isolated to its school boundaries. I think even now with global communities, but more so even local communities, that a school can be a place that's connected, and not just superficially, but open world connected with everything around in that community. And therefore it's relevant to whatever community the school is in. And I know that I know India quite well. As I said, I don't know it as well as everyone here probably, but I know that the difference between sort of rural schools and big city schools as well. But I also think that the opportunity and the need to change education lies in creating real education, real learning experiences. The way to do that is to connect and entwine yourself with the local community. So I would think that there are garden opportunities for all schools if there is some garden land around. I would think that there are community centres, that there are recycling centres or rubbish places that the community could interact in and get outside of the school. I think the limitation of school being a place that you send your kids to that is disconnected to the community is what is holding us back into bringing education into a future. And that doesn't matter if you're in the country or in the city. Yes, it's a challenge, but I see other schools probably in I've seen some other school models in New York, for example, and a couple in Europe that are using gardens and vertical gardens and things like that, and being creative about how to bring nature into their campus. But I also think the easier answer and the quicker fix for that is to start bringing your education experiences for your students outside of the school. Connect, go to the mechanic, take a class to the mechanic and learn maths and science and physics and motion at the mechanic. Go to the bakery, go to the restaurant, connect with everyone in your community, learn from that. It makes the learning real, it makes the learning rich, and it makes it meaningful because the students are actually enacting and enabling their learning. So yeah, there's a challenge, but I think the first and the easiest way to get over that challenge is to start thinking of schools as more than just the physical confines of your school boundary, and start thinking about how many times you can bring learning out into the community.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. So before we wrap up, I think there are two questions, one for Maxim, one for for Mohit, and one for Sal. So if you could just take a minute and wind them up so that I can wind up the show. Is that okay? So Mohit, can you go ahead?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Maxim, for the question. Really quickly, I think recently in Nepal, like a couple of years ago, there was a heavy dependence on curriculum and, just learning whatever is on the textbook. But I feel slowly parents, students are realizing, just like Sal mentioned, on the importance of skills. And it's not only learning, the basic biology of a plant, but schools are understanding the importance of, going to a workshop and understanding how a motorbike works, because that's, again, a life skill that might be needed in the future. So I think that is one, the reliance on, these basic traditional curriculum that is being slowly getting outdated and shifting towards, especially with the pandemic, digital education has also supported to learn all these new skills through internet, through different mediums. That's for question one. The other thing I feel in terms of taking education globally for Canopy, we've started the process. We've started to share our curriculum with classrooms, with schools all over the world. I'll be happy to share it with people present in this presentation, also with Sal's school if things go forward well. I see a thumbs up from Sal. I'm not sure how long it will take, Maxim, but I'm hoping that it completes very soon. Thank you very much.
Sal, would you take a minute to wind up, right?
Yeah, I can take that question. Good question. Thanks, Maxim. I think education revolution is something that I'm enacting and working on daily inside of a school system that's continuing to evolve and continuing to improve. I can see change in innovation, particularly in education, around me quite easily all the time, and I'm not unaware that I live in a little bit of an innovation bamboo bubble at Green School. But I think part of what Green School Bali is playing a role and a global role, now more so than ever being a part of Education in Motion, this bigger education network, is providing an option or many options for different schools to look at. I don't believe that, I'm not idealistic to the point that I think that all schools could automatically become like a Green School Bali. That's too much to ask, but I do believe, like some of the things I've talked about today, that can change every school around the world, whether it's skills or values, whether it's educating for sustainability, whether it's connecting with your community more. These things, whether it's a place you decide that your school is a place where you build a culture, and that's what is important. And you define your values, you define your mission, and you start living that and celebrating that and sharing that. And I believe that all schools around the world can do some of those things. And so Green School Bali will continue to play that ultimate innovator, that sort of learning innovation centre in our pretty cool jungle campus. And other schools can have the opportunity to look at different aspects of what Green School Bali does, whether it's mindfulness, educating for sustainability, project-based learning, problem-based learning, solutions learning, our student projects, lots of things that I think schools around the world can help to leapfrog back into fitting the purpose of what education is for.
Thank you. That was wonderful. And Max has already thanked both of you. So once again, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us. It was wonderful listening to both of you, both Sal and Mohit, both from different parts of the world, right? So thank you so much. And it was a wonderful learning experience. I'd like to thank all our audience over here today for being so wonderful with us, giving us your questions, staying on with us and encouraging our speakers, etc. And please do continue to stay along with us. Tomorrow at 5, we'll be joining for the last day, but we'll have a new set of speakers. So that's from us all. So good night, and thank you once again to everyone.